Okay, this is the retrofit procedure for a system consisting of 165 bulbs or less. So the system we have today, I have a quick diagram here. So essentially we have our lighting controller with our male starting connector here, 3 power taps, which are these 3 here, running with the 12 gauge wire going back to the power supply. So this procedure is fairly straightforward. Step 1 is we're going to replace this male connector with a starter, the new starter part. Then we're going to replace the 3 power taps with the new power regulator part. And then we're going to swap out the actual control box itself for the new 12 volt system. This is the procedure here. You should have a PDF of this to follow along. Essentially, I'm going to just go through the steps so you can see it done, and hopefully that should make it fairly easy to understand. So our first activity is going to be replacing this connector with a starter. So we'll just disconnect that from the starting connector from the first light. We've got our starter ready here. So to do this, all we have to do is just cut the existing connector off. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to put on this connector in its place. So to do that, we're going to use heat shrink butt connectors. This is a step we actually do ahead of time. So when we're back at the shop, we actually put these connectors on so they're prepped and ready to go. It makes installation go a little bit quicker. So I recommend doing that as well. So essentially just what I'm doing here, putting these 3 connectors on. That way when you arrive on the job site and you go to actually do this, you're ready to go with this already. So on the wire itself, we're just going to strip back about 3/8 of an inch on the 3 conductors, and then we'll just connect these conductors into the starter. Now on the starter, the red is positive, the white is negative, and the black is for data. On our line coming from the box, we have positive as red, negative as white, and we're using green for data. So just ensure that the colors match up to the convention that you use on your installations. So we'll put white to white. Green to black. And red to red. Then you would use your heat gun to seal these up, make sure it's watertight. And then you're good to just connect that back into the first connector of the lighting string. So now we've completed installing the starter. We're going to move on to changing out the power taps. So when you're changing the power taps, you want to work essentially from the starter out, away from the controller. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a multimeter just to verify that we haven't missed any power taps. Because the power lines are now 12 volts and the lights run at 5 volts, we want to make sure that we don't directly connect 12 volts to the lights. So we want to make sure that we don't miss any power taps during the course of our installation. So we're going to use a multimeter. I've set it up with a male and a female connector, and the multimeter is attached to the red wire on both, so that we're essentially measuring the positive wires on both. And we're going to use it on the continuity setting, which on this meter is here, and it's the mode where you should have a little sound wave. And the way you can test to make sure you're in continuity mode is with the leads, just touch them together, and you'll get a beep if there's continuity. So we're going to use that to check to make sure that we haven't missed any power taps. So we'll go through and change out this first power tap. So when we get here, what we want to do is we want to disconnect the female connector on the power tap itself, and then we're going to attach our 2 connectors here. So we'll attach this side and this side. And what we're looking for is no beep. If there's no beep, it means that we're good and we haven't missed any power taps. You can also check to make sure your meter's running properly just by touching them manually. But no beep means we're good to go and we can continue changing out this power tap. So we'll remove our meter, and now we can just take out this power tap and we'll replace it with the exact same configuration with one of the new regulators. So this is the regulator part. It's set up the same way. It still has a male and female connector and the two leads. So we'll put the red lead into the positive on the 12 gauge wire. Oops. And then we'll put the white to negative. And then this attaches exactly the same way. It goes with the female to the line before it, the male to the line after it. And we'll just continue down the line and do that for each power tap. Just to show you what it looks like if you have missed one, what we'll do is we'll accidentally skip this and we'll do this one. So we'll remove the female connector, attach our meter. Oh, and there we go. We hear that there's continuity, which means there's a path through here to connect these two. And that's telling us that we've missed a power tap. So we're gonna go back to find the one that we missed, and we'll do that one first. So we'll run this. We'll check to make sure we haven't missed any others. Quiet is good. So we haven't missed anything. And we'll remove this power tap. And we'll insert a regulator in its place. That power tap's now done. We'll repeat the procedure on the final one. So we'll check that our meter is working. It is. Connect it in. No sound, we're good. So we haven't missed any power taps. We can proceed with replacing this one. So we'll remove the power tap. And we'll insert the regulator. All right, now that we've completed the power tap replacement, we'll go ahead and control the or change out the control box. Okay, so now we're going to change out the control box. The first step is to mark the data lines that are plugged in there. So for this, we just use a piece of tape and a Sharpie. And so we'll just mark, this is in output 1. So we'll just mark this data line as 1, and this will help you keep things straight if you have multiple data lines. When we replace them into the new unit, we're going to know which data line to plug them into. So now the next step is to unplug everything from the controller, and we're going to remove the wires and then remove the controller from the box. So we've removed the controller. We're going to keep that. We're going to install it in the new box. We'll set it to the side. We have our data line. There may be more, obviously. And now we're also going to disconnect the power line. Obviously, before you start any of this work, you want to make sure that your power is unplugged. So we'll just take the DC power line and disconnect that as well. And then we'll remove this box from the wall and replace it in the same position with the new box, which I have here. So this is the new box. There's going to be standoffs in place for your control board. So the first thing we'll do is just install that control board there, and we'll use the existing screws that we just removed from the previous one. Put that one in. The next step is the leads from the power supply. We will connect into the ground and V positive terminals. From the power supply, we have red for positive and black for negative. So we're going to plug that one into ground and then the positive into positive. And next, we're going to connect our DC power wires. So these obviously we would be properly running through the box, but for demonstration, I'm just going to leave them loose like this so you can just see what's going on. So we're going to connect the negative to the negative terminal and the positive to the positive terminal. There we go. So that's our power connections. And then the last step is to connect our data lines. So we marked each line. So this one is going to go into data 1. And then for the ground and power, it actually doesn't matter which one because it's a bus. They're all connected together. So we'll put that red into V in, white into ground. And now we're set. We can power up the unit, give it a test, and the retrofit should be complete.